Hello and welcome to the New Indian Express Online. I'm Bansy Kalappa. With me is a very elite team of panelists. First of all, from ground zero, we have Mr. Minlal, who's joining us from Manipur. He is General Secretary of KSOU. Also, we have Miss Christy, who is joining us from Manipur. There is an issue of net connectivity, as all of us know, because uh, the internet has been down for the past 80 days in Manipur. So there is an issue with connectivity here, but however, we will get her audio. Also joining us from Shillong is someone who has been following this from day one, Miss Patricia Mukhim. She's the one who's been covering this entire developments from day one. Also from Ahmedabad, we have Father Cedric Prakash, who extensively covered a similar incident of ethnic cleansing, similar incidents of ethnic cleansing in Gujarat. We will also be shortly joined in by our the chief of Indian Express, someone who's the group editor of the New Indian Express, Ms. Santwana Bhattacharya, in a short while. So, first of all, Ms. Patricia Mukhim, you have written about this entire conflict from day one. In fact, you have featured in many newspapers and in the media. So, let me come to you first. What exactly is this conflict all about? Because it is raging for 80 plus days now, and many are dead, many are homeless. Many have very sad incidents of rape happening continuously. So, what is this really all about?
See, this is not just one or two reasons. These reasons have been simmering for a long time, and they are embedded in the fight for scarce resources, and the most important resource being land. Since the Métis, with 53% of their population, are able to have access to only one-tenth of the geographical area of the state. So there is this, this anxiety, this dystopia that the population is increasing, but we're not able to increase our homesteads. Whereas in the hills, 90% of the land are among 40% of the population. Uh, they have access to land in the valley. They can buy land in the valley, and they have been doing that. And this inequality is a legacy of the British, which should have been undone by the Indian government when India gained independence. But we continued with this divide and rule policy, and then when things blow up on our faces, then we wonder why. These have been simmering for a long time, and also the demand of the Métis, who also are indigenous people, except for the fact that they have embraced Hinduism because of their kings, and they've lived their lives as Hindus, and therefore they've been considered to be non-scheduled tribes. But now their demand for scheduled tribe status is something that the hill tribes feel will deprive them of their share of the benefits as guaranteed by the Indian Constitution, because they also feel that the Métis have had access to the best of education. All the institutions of excellence are in Imphal. All the medical institutions are in Imphal. The hills have not been able to develop at all. And, there is this kind of very skewed, uh, what should I say, development. I mean, the manner in which development funds are allocated between the hills and the plains is very skewed. So the hills have been, for a long time, they've been in anxiety that they've not had enough development, even in the Naga Hills for that matter. When you visit those places, you find that there's no sign of development. I visit these areas in Saikul and all. You come back, your entire face, your hair, and everything is covered with dust. That is the kind of development we are talking about. So when there's so much of anxiety, conflicts are bound to happen. And in this case, I think the conflict was also provoked by the chief minister himself, who keeps creating a narrative that the cookies are illegal migrants, they are junglis, they are drug peddlers, as if it is only the cookies who are, they are, of course, growing cocaine, growing poppy, and perhaps processing it into cocaine. But who are the drug lords and where are they? They are all in Imphal. So it's very wrong to point your fingers at one community. And I think that there is a larger game plan of substituting opium, poppy with marijuana, ganja, because the chief minister says that we will legalize the plantation of marijuana so that we can earn revenue from it and it can be used in medicinal and industrial purposes. So there are many things that are being done, which the tribals sense is an intrusion into their territory without consulting them. And all these have piled up over the years.
Okay.
In the past too, in 2015, there have been many bills that were passed which really looked anti-tribal, and this whole narrative that all the cookies are migrants is very, very wrong. It is what has triggered this whole violence.
Okay. Okay. Now, quickly, let me go over to Mr. Minlal. Mr. Minlal, if you can hear me.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Situation on the ground, because all of us here, news about rape and, violence and, they say nearly 200 are feared dead already. And there is no end to this violence. So what is really happening on ground zero? Because you are already there and you have witnessed, really horrific things over the past so many days. So what is really happening there?
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. The ground situation right now is kind of a bit calmer than what it was 80 days back. During the past 80 days, we have seen lots of violence, women being raped, women being tortured, houses being burned. But right now, as a center forces are making this what we call buffer zone in between the valley and the hills. So the situation right now is kind of calm, except for a few incidents. Even last night, there was a firing incident in the border of Chuchanpur. And then, however, there are more than hundreds of dead bodies which are not yet collected. Hundreds of dead bodies of the cookies, victims of the ethnic violence, are still there in Imphal Morgue, and the family could not have access to it. And then, since the hundreds of deaths we have are still remain unburied, the last rite for them is not performed yet. So far, we cannot say that things return to normal. It will still take time for things to return to normal, because as per our tradition, custom and tradition, their normalcy return unless all the dead bodies are buried, then there's a peace settlement. So when we say peace, we mean justice to us is getting a separate administration, because we could not no longer stay together with these people. And as we have recently seen videos going viral of two women who were paraded naked on the streets and on the paddy field. So such things are bound to happen again once we live together with this Meitei community again. So with the fear of those things happening again, and then with us physically separating ourselves, there are no more cookies left in the valley, and then no Meiteis left in the hills. So now what we are always asking for is that a separate administration in the form of a state is arranged for us. So until then, I think there should be a solution to this before peace. So peace and justice now should be preceded by a solution, a political solution.
Okay. Now, you have seen many incidents of violence, of death, of murder, of arson, of rioting, of rapes. Now, what is the worst you have seen until now?
Ground zero, I do not go to the ground zero wherein the killings and all these things happen, but I have seen and interact with people, lots of people women who were harassed, women who were raped, and also dead bodies being brought to Chutanpur district. from other districts, from the peripheral areas. And I personally witnessed a guy who was being burned to death, and then the other guy, David Trick, who was beheaded. I was the among the team who went to collect the remains of the charred body in Langja village. I think that is the worst thing I have seen so far.
Okay. You said there are hundreds of bodies in the mortuary in Imphal which have not been collected, but the official death statistics is only about about less than 200. So if you're saying hundreds, well, the numbers must be much higher. The death rate, the death figures must be much higher then.
See, as per the confirmed sources from our side, we have around 124 deaths, and then around 46 missing. So total death for the cook is presumed to be around 180. So at Chuchanpur Mok, we have only around 34 to 36 bodies. And then all others are either at Bishnupur Mok, Imphal Jenims, and Rims Mok.
Okay, so in your estimate, what is the number of dead bodies there totally?
It could be 70 to 100 because some are still presumed missing. We have not ruled them yet, and then bodies are not yet being identified.
Okay, quickly, let's welcome our group editor, Ms. Santwana Bhattacharya, who's joining us. Welcome on the show, madam.
Hello, and thank you everybody for joining. I'm sorry, there was another meeting that was going on, so I got a little delayed in joining. I know all of you are hard pressed for time, and I thank you for joining us on this discussion. We are all very deeply concerned about what has been happening in Manipur, especially as more than a journalist, as a woman, I'm deeply disturbed with some of the things that have surfaced, and the fact that these have happened much before than we got to know about it, and we are all in a way grouping in the dark to find a way how can we kind of diffuse the situation, bring relief to the people. As journalists, what we need to do and how to give our concern has also been that we get as many voices from Manipur and Northeast to write about the situation, to talk about the situation, rather than us talking about it, mediating the whole thing for our readership and our viewership, or for the people at large. So please carry on, Bansy, with the conversation, and I will interject
So
wherever necessary.
Okay, thank you. There, shall I quickly go on to Miss Christy, who is also there in Churchandpur, which is one of the worst affected areas in Manipur. Miss Christy,
Yes.
you have seen so much of violence there. You have been living amidst the violence. So quickly, can you tell us what is the situation in Churchandpur?
Yeah, the situation here is that from the very beginning, they tried to enter my very hometown also. They have attempted a lot of time. Yeah, and then the ground reality is that now people are still, it was little bit tense again. And then now people are still demanding for a solution and a justice. And the protesting is still going on. And they are also trying to attack us enter my own hometown a lot of time. Yeah, even yesterday they tried to enter in a different route where they can enter to our hometown so that they can do the same as usual they are doing.
So you are saying the mob violence is continuing unabated?
Yes, they did not they had no days stop from the very beginning. But by God's grace, my hometown is a very big hometown, unlike those small villages. So by the village volunteer, by the grace of God, we are still safe.
Is there any police or military or army presence in any of the areas? Is any visible state security presence there to guard or guard against mob violence or provide
Yeah,
security to
actually,
citizens, to civilian citizens?
Yeah, actually there was an army deployed here, but then I don't know if they could protect us, then why that much of our village has been burned down? There is a big question here, you know. They have deployed thousands of army to protect us, but why that much of our villages has been burned down? Why that much of people has been killed? Why that much of church has been killed? That is the big question. We had an army in my own hometown also, but then I strongly believe that these were indirectly controlled by the state government, because they cannot do anything to protect us. If they could have protect us all, if they are able to protect us, all these things won't happen. I greatly believe on. Yeah.
See, there is a complete failure of governance. There's complete failure
Yes,
of
yes.
the rule of law. And these are things we have to take cognizance about.
That's
And the
true.
fact
That's
that the chief
true.
minister is still enjoying so much of impunity, you know,
Yeah.
it's the arrogance of power that is shown in his face, in the way he just drives away media persons and doesn't want to talk to them. He talks instead of the railways that
Yes,
came
yes.
in, you know, the goods
Yeah.
train. All these show that he is not even affected in the least bit. So how can you have that person presiding over
Yeah.
the state when everything has
Yes,
failed under
yes,
his rule?
that's
Yeah.
So
yes.
what you are saying,
Until and unless he has
Pat,
been
can
removed,
I
there will never be.
yeah.
The violence will never stop until and unless these kind of criminals were behind the bar. You know, these government need to be removed immediately so that we can avoid this kind of heinous crime against cookie women. You know, this kind we can avoid only when this kind of government has been thrown down, so that there can be a stop on the violence and a crime against this woman. And then we need a separate administration. That is the only solution for our survival. That is, you know, there is no other way. It doesn't mean that we want this and this, we can demand anything according to the constitution. It is not like that. Just for our survival, we need a separate administration, and these government need to be removed immediately. Until and unless they were there, the criminal who is committing the heinous crime in the history of mankind are now ruling the state, and they were a member of parliament. How can there be a peace? What can you expect for such crime, such criminal?
I want to also say
Yeah, you know,
that the
it's like that.
police who were, you know, taking those two women, handed them over to a mob. Will there be justice there?
Yes.
So you are
All-
basically
all-
saying that the army, despite their presence, even in where you are living in Churachandpur area, in your village, there is the army is not too far away, but it has not been able to act,
Yes.
and the police has been inactive to the extent that they have been overpowered by the mob. They have kind of in a way looked away or handed over to the mob, people to women to the mob, as Patricia has mentioned, and that you feel has happened because there is the state government is not functioning, and the state government is not taking the kind of steps and providing the security. The state government apparatus is dysfunctional by design or by negligence. Okay, that is that is the crux of what you are saying. And you are also saying that Biren Singh is not only displaying lack of governance, he is also unconcerned, not just morally, but also politically. He seems to be under no pressure the way he's seen to be interacting with the media. Neither politically nor morally he seems to be facing any challenge right now, despite what is happening. Despite the fact all of us are so exercised about what is happening, all right-minded people are exercised, even our readers are exercised. We have got so many requests for us to get Patricia to write for us. You'll be amazed to hear that. Okay, to make sense of what is happening. Okay, this is the kind of, it is not just us, which means that larger citizenry is also concerned. And we are largely a South Indian paper. We have presence in Odisha and Delhi. We have an edition there, but these responses are coming from most of the South Indian states. Okay, so it's a large scale concern across the country we are feeling about Manipur right now. But you are saying, despite all that, the Chief Minister seems to be a bit unconcerned because he's neither morally challenged nor politically challenged right now. So can we sort of take this point ahead?
Actually, from the very beginning, it is the Chief Minister's silence, and then we also want to say that he is the one leading all this movement. We have lots of videos, photos have surfaced of the CM, the Chief Minister himself meeting with this Meitei militants group, what we call Arambai, and then with the Meitei Lipund, where he is the chief patronizer himself. And these people were the cause of the violence at the first place. And then he has been so supportive of them. Even after the ethnic violence started, the CM is still seen along with all those people wherever he goes. And that means he is the one who is declaring this war on the cookies. And that the ethnic cleansing, the rape, everything is done under his command only. Because even those boys were handed over guns. How can somebody loot 4,000, 5,000 guns from the armory of the state government? There were state forces present. But since all these things clearly prove that Biren Singh is hand in glove with all these extremist groups.
Patricia, why do you think that, Biren Singh is insurance against everything? And he's been, the sense we get is he's, acting with impunity, not controlling the situation, and the fire is spreading. Fire is spreading, as we can see that what happened to Conrad was affected, so it is spreading to neighboring state. It's spread to Meghalaya, Mizoram. We reported how Meiteis have been asked to leave, and they've been taking flights out of Mizoram. So this whole thing is spreading across Northeast, which is.
I had said this very clearly in one of my articles, that this model might be replicated in other states. This is a conflict zone. You have militant outfits that are, currently under some kind of agreement with the central government. But when they see these things, when different groups start demanding some things and they don't get it, then they will use violence as a weapon. And then, it's so easy to use women's bodies as the location of that violence. Then you want to intimidate their men by showing that this is what you can do to their women. Think about it. And at this point of time, I have just been speaking to some friends across, I have friends among the Kukis, friends among the Meiteis. Now, it is very difficult for a Meitei person to be objective and to be conciliatory at this point of time, because he'll be seen as a traitor. And similar as the case with the Kukis, it seems that there is a point of no return that has been reached. And there is nobody I can see as yet who can bridge this gap. Just as it happened in Gujarat, Father Cedric, I remember Mirai Chatterjee saying that we're too stunned to react. All the civil society groups just sort of collapsed, and they couldn't do anything. They couldn't come together. So similar as the case with Manipur. Manipur, especially the valley, has the largest number of all kinds of NGOs, especially when the funding was quite liberal. Today, I'm not very sure, but then almost all these groups say that they are fighting for peace, promoting peace and promoting human rights. So where have all those groups disappeared? That is the point. And this is what is giving impunity to a person like Biren Singh, who feels that he has delivered Manipur twice for the BJP, and therefore the BJP doesn't dare to take any action against him, because there isn't anyone, I think, with substantial following to replace him. So when we think of a situation like this, and Manipur has been under president's rule 10 times in the past, why not this time? Why not this time when so many people have died? And as Mr. Minlal has said, that even getting the bodies is not possible as yet because of the fear of going to the valley. And then what happens in the future? A lot of young students are coming here, professors are coming from Manipur University saying we can't go back to Manipur University. And the students need to get admission in some of the universities in Meghalaya, in Mizoram, anywhere else. How do you deal with such a situation of such great divide? What about those people employed in the government offices in Imphal? What do they do? How do they go to work with that fear, all-pervasive fear? So there are so many things that are involved here that one or two discussions will not, will not inform the readers or the audience about the extent of the problem now in Manipur.
Yeah, basically, this is the other fallout, how the student community and education has suffered because of the conflict. So we are so taken up with the scale of violence, especially against women, where people have been rendered homeless. Their access to they have physical security, insecurity, food insecurity,
Yes.
everything. So the scale is so high that we forget about the fact that, there are youngsters, there's students, the education system, and how that is affected. I believe most of the campuses in Imphal are not working.
They can't work. They can't work.
They have not opened, they have shut down. And I'm told that for children to go to school, schools are asking their parents to sign declaration that if anything happens, it is not the school's responsibility. Just imagine young children, how does a parent send their kids to school? This is the situation. This is what conflicts brings about. You don't just destroy your present, but you destroy your future as well. Okay, for years to come. And what Patricia is saying, that there is no bridge that is visible, and this is a scar that will take probably many years and many decades to heal. And currently we are so exercised, we just want this to stop any which way. We are saying sack Biren Singh, get president's rule somehow to stop this. But these are the larger, longer, short-term and long-term consequences of what has happened. Cedric, I would like you to come chip in and give your view on the situation, and then we will...
I think I was asked right at the beginning by Bansy that to speak about the parallels between Gujarat.
Right.
I've been in the midst of the Gujarat violence in 2002.
Right.
I've been in the midst of the Sikh violence in Delhi. I've been to Manipur for 3 years. There are lots of NGOs. I was working in conflict resolution for a German agency. I was working with a lot of NGOs, and I wrote, it was big business. The whole question of NGO business in Manipur. For 3 years, I was inside out in the most remote areas of Manipur, right up to Mode on the Myanmar border and so on. I've seen things happening. And let's say, the words being used that Biren Singh is not concerned and so on I don't agree at all. Biren Singh and Amit Shah and Modi are fully responsible for what is happening in Manipur today. There is no doubt about it. And thinking citizens of
Correct,
India,
absolutely.
know how Gujarat unfolded. Who was responsible? How it was planned? There are whole documents written when the police have been saying here in Gujarat, we have no orders to save you. It was meticulously planned. It was meant to wipe out the minority Muslim community. Today, more than 20, 21 years later, they're living in ghettos here. They have lost their business. They have left Gujarat. They have gone abroad and things like that. So the strategy is clear. Biren is planning to deliver the whole hill area and the tribals, and even, a religious minority there to the hands of the BJP, to the RSS. He's delivering them. If this government, federal government, was concerned, if the Minister of Women and Children were concerned, she would have taken moral responsibility and resigned the day she would have heard about those terrible gang rapes of those two women, which the world is speaking about. It's a shame on the country. The National Commission for Women, the chairperson would have resigned. The National Commission for Minorities, the National Human Rights, they have not taken responsibility. And I think this is serious. And in Gujarat, we said, fortunately, we had the National Human Rights Commission that went to the Supreme Court. The whole Bilkis Banu case was all because of that. And last year on 15th of August, this woman who had been gang raped, who's seen her little baby being crushed to death, her own relatives being killed and raped. The perpetrators are not only released by the government, they're garlanded. Do we need the Chief Justice of India to take a suo motu and say that what is happening in Manipur is non-acceptable? It is not merely the failure of the local president rule does not help, because then Amit Shah will be ruling it from Delhi. He will come and all the violence, heightened, after his visit, planning. And as Christy has just said, there is the army, but the army is doing nothing to help us, to save us. I mean, we are not morons in this country. We are thinking citizen. And our good chief editor here has said citizenry want to know what is happening in Manipur. These people have disgraced India, that the European Parliament has to come with such a strong statement, that the US ambassador to India said, I'm ready to go to Manipur to help out. I mean, no ambassador uses these words. That in the British Parliament, in the House of Commons, there's a whole statement made by Prime Minister Sunak's representative for freedom of religion. So what we saw in Gujarat in 2002, and we are still having the unfolding of it, is the demonization, denigration, the dividing of society. It is the alienation of minorities.
Yeah,
whether it is Muslims here, or whether it is the cookies there, many of them we know are Christians. It's there. And secondly, it's also about resources. Patricia has already said right at the beginning, it's a multi-layered. I have very close friends.
I want to get, drawing parallels which we know exist. All ethnic violence have the same pattern. 1984, we have personal experiences of that.
Yes, I was there. I was there working.
2002 was well documented, but what this multi-layered thing, but drawing parallels helps us understand, but doesn't reach us to a kind of conclusion or a pressure, this thing which will deliver some relief to the people. What I would like to understand, what are the multi-layered dimension to it? There is, of course, the land and the forest, which is kind of the 100-kilometer from the forest amendment thing. There is a land. And how much of that is playing out in this? Let us understand that as well.
There has been disaffection right from 2015 when Ibobi Singh was the chief minister. he brought in at least 3 bills which were very, very contentious and were meant to sort of to intrude into tribal lands actually, and to prevent the tribals from having sort of a free reign of their land. So that is one. And then what we need to do a series of studies, because one study has to be on the drugs angle. What exactly is happening on that front? Why did Mr. Biren Singh, the Chief Minister, allow a drug lord to be released under pressure from I don't know who? And he put pressure on the police, so much so that a police officer had to resign, and she had to give back she was compelled to give back her medal. She worked hard to get the drug lord arrested, and then the Chief Minister gets him released. These are some of the underlying factors. There are too many of them, layer upon layer. We know that the cookies are growing poppy in areas that are not really cultivable, and they do not really get much out of that. It is the people who process it, it is the people who then sell it, who peddle it. They are the ones who are making the money. And we are told that they are all resident in the valley. And we know where drug money goes also. It goes to fund politics as well. Just as in Meghalaya, the illegal coal that is extracted and transported goes to fund politics. So there are layers and layers of history and attempts are to make it feel like that the government wants to do something positive for the hills and wants to increase the forest area, and because of all the climate change thing and all. These are all alibis. Actually, the real intent is to get more land for perhaps residents, for the plains people, for the valley people. Now, see, if you want to do that, you should bring in a land reforms which is transparent, which is in consultation with the tribals, because the tribals have always believed in consultation. And you know what is the major drawback of the administrative arrangements in Manipur is that in the Kuki Naga areas, there is no 6th schedule that is applied. In Meghalaya, we have the 6th schedule, and
Right.
therefore the tribes can make their own decisions. They can decide whether to allow land to be taken over as reserve forests or not. The district councils have the power to grant mining leases or not. So that should have been given to the Kukis and the Nagas of Manipur, so that
Right.
they also learn to be accountable to their own people. At the moment, if there's no development in the hills, what happens is they say, oh, the government is in Imphal, the government is not giving us enough funds. So it gives them that alibi to get away. But if they have a strongly funded district council along the lines of the Bodoland Territorial Council, I believe it will be much more, sort of a positive development for them, because then they will be able to develop in the right way. They'll be able to create institutions of learning, institutions of health, and other institutions of excellence.
Right. So is there any palm oil cultivation angle to the to this cauldron of issues that have erupted?
They have, see, the central government had since 2 years ago wanted to grow palm oil plantations in all of the states of the Northeast. Meghalaya protested very loudly, and therefore we don't see that happening. Mizoram had palm oil plantations, and they have seen how devastating that is. It hasn't brought.
There's been
it
devastating in Philippines and all the
Yes.
other places where it's grown. Yeah.
So we don't seem to learn from other places and from
Right.
history.
Right.
Mizoram knows now how bad the palm plantation is. And I think that the BJP government at the center is pushing the BJP ruled states in the region, in the rest of the country, to go in for this palm oil plantation. And maybe there is a possibility that Manipur is one of those destinations. And also, in recent times, we've seen tweets about there being some precious minerals in the hills of Manipur that are likely to be explored. So there are a lot of a hidden agenda that we need to unravel.
Which has gone into creating a situation which is now blown
out of proportion. Yeah.
Blown out of proportion.
Okay, so Christy, you're on ground zero. You're in Churchandpur, which is one of the worst affected. What is the worst you have seen until now?
The worst is that, basically how they are moving is that they are dehumanizing, they did not treat it like a human, so they have to chop, they always chop us like vegetable, they brutally slaughter like animal, that is too much terrifying, and no human language or a word can describe it. I don't even have an appropriate word to express about it. And the attack is still going on, and even on my own hometown, they have attempted a lot of time till now. Just yesterday also, from the border, they are always trying to enter into our hometown. That is very terrifying. Even we are living in a trauma. Every time we are thinking, we are living in fear that when will these people come and attack us, my own village, my hometown. We are in a situation from May that from the very beginning we live in fear. All those things, this fear. There is no security. You cannot trust the army. You cannot rely on the army or the state force. The state force are the one who leads the mob. And then I also want to comment from a sister from the Shillong. I want to highlight one thing. In the beginning, she said that it was because of the region, because of the British. He mentioned something about the British divide and rule policy, and this is the result of the work that has been done by the British. So I want to add one sentence here. We cannot fully blame the British, because in the merger agreement, Manipur has been merged into India. It is clearly mentioned that the Meitei community land is 700 square kilometers. So we the tribal from the very beginning, the Constitution of India has protected us, but somehow they have to club us together to make a state, But then we are the tribal. The Constitution of India has to protect us. We are the lower class, But then we have to come up with the upper class as a state, So the Constitution is protecting us, but the emerge agreement in Manipur has been emerged into as a statehood. There, it's clearly mentioned that their land is only 700 square kilometers. And according to my finding in my research, MP Maharaja also clearly mentioned in a national paper that they always had a plan to bring up their family member, Meitei from the Burmese and Bangladesh. They had a plan for this, so all of us can search about this specific point. So before this ethnic cleansing upon the Zokuki people took place, I always see even in a national news paper that even Maharaja himself said in the national paper that they had a plan to take up their Meitei from the Myanmar and Bangladesh, and they want to inhabit this entire tribal habited area. So they are conducting.
So what you are saying is you are afraid of infiltration of people coming in from Myanmar side across the border, or from Bangladesh, people coming and reducing the tribal community into a further minority.
No, it's not like that. It's not like that. I want to highlight 2 points here. Ma'am was saying that she mentioned that it was the British who is playing a divide and rule to the tribals and the Métis. It is not that. It is not that. It is that from the Merger Agreement. I am quoting from the Merger Agreement how Manipur become into a statehood. In that agreement, the land is only 700 square kilometers. So we, the tribal, had a more land because we are the indigenous of our land.
Right.
And the Constitution of India has
that
to
is part of that.
we
Has
are the
been
tribal.
put as part of the trouble, part of the conflict,
Yeah.
point of conflict.
And more of that, and let me add one point. Yes, let me add one more point. They always had a plan from since they made up this statehood, Manipur coming to a statehood, and now they are thinking to take up those Myanmar Métis, Bangladesh Métis, so that they are conducting this ethnic cleansing upon us, and they want to take Myanmar Métis who are living in Myanmar, Burma, and Bangladesh. So this is the plan I have from my finding and from my research. And before all this ethnic cleansing that has been conducted, I clearly seen in a national paper also. MP Maharaja Tauba also clearly mentioned in some newspaper.
Right.
And
Right.
while Ibobi was in a CM also, he frequently visit Métis who are in Myanmar and Bangladesh. So they are working out for how to reunite the Métis from different part of the country, basically from this this region, especially from Myanmar and Bangladesh. So I want to add these 2 points, and their land is only 700 square kilometers. We, the tribal, has been protected by the Constitution of India because we had a lot of difference, We had a lot of difference. We are the tribal, we are the minority, we are the indigenous of our land because our forefathers fought this land,
Okay,
from
Christy,
the
Christy, we got that point. That they're planning to do this. Now, quickly, let me ask you: you have lived 80 plus days. It's day 81 today. So you have lived 80 plus days in that area. What is the worst trauma you have experienced personally?
Yeah, even on my hometown, even though I was not hurt, I am not harmed. We are living in a constant fear. Every time we have to be alert. When will they come in my hometown? In which direction they will be coming to attack us? Because every day they did not stop attempt to attack us. To enter into my own hometown. So every day there is no freedom from fear. That is our life.
They say the incidents of rape are much higher and the incidents of violence are much higher. In fact, the national media reported just 2 cases, but they say the number of actual incidents are much higher.
Yes, definitely. It will be much, much higher because the internet was banned. Why the internet was banned? Because they want to put all these heinous crime under the carpet, By God's grace, that video come out of blue, That's why the people have. We got the attention that what we have been through.
Quickly, I'll go to everybody for their final comments. First, let me start with Ms. Patricia Mukhim.
Yeah, so everyone now is talking about peace. The gentleman who spoke from the KSO, he said that the violence has relatively gone down. Now, how can there be peace without justice? And who is going to, to draw up the parameters for delivering that justice to the cookies who have been the bigger, the greater victims in this whole conflict? Sometimes when you speak to the Métis, they bring 1 or 2 instances of what happened to their people. But by and large, the cookies have been the victims of this conflict, and there can be no denying about that. We are all alarmed at the scale of the conflict, at the fact that there is a humanitarian crisis now in Manipur, where the Mera Paidis are not allowing the food-laden trucks to go to the hills. There are no medicines. So there's a great deal of, and so many people living in very, very pathetic conditions in the refugee camps. Some help has gone their way from different quarters, from different organizations. But living in a refugee camp is not what life is all about. You should see the pathetic scenes of the little children staying there without any education, without any any opportunities to play, because there's so much fear all around them. So many people, almost 70,000 people displaced in their own country. How does India view this? Is the soul of India even crying out because of this inhumanity? So these are my concluding words. I just feel that, Manipur only comes into the news because of the horrors that are committed in that state. And so does the Northeast. It used to come into the news only when there were guns and bombs and, train derailment and all that by militant outfits. But otherwise, there is no analysis of what is happening in this region. This region shares a boundary of only 1% with the rest of the country. And I think it is in the best interest of the country that you give more time and attention to this region, or equal time and attention as you give to Jammu and Kashmir or any other border state. So if we cannot do that much for your own people, then what are you? I mean, who do you think we are? Are we not part of India? Are we just Northeast India, a periphery, an appendage? I think now the whole country of India needs to think afresh and needs to read our history. Of course, we ourselves need to read our own history so that we understand ourselves better. Thank you.
Yes, Christy. Quickly, you're summing up your words to sum up your final words.
My final word is that, there cannot be a peace without a solution. No, it is like, a glass, once it's broken, how can you make more of a glass again? So there could not be a peace. They try to impose peace by force. How could there be a peace without the solution? And there is no way that we will be saved without separate administration. Separate administration as according to the Constitution of India. It is not what we want and demand it. It is what we need for our survival. Without no separate administration, there cannot be a peace, and we will never be safe living together with the Meitei community. And there should be immediate PR in the state until and unless the person who is committing the heinous crime in the history of mankind, until and unless these people are ruling the state and a member of the parliament, there will never be a peace, and it will keep on affecting. And until those drugs lord has been arrested in the state and different parts of India where they are hiding, India is in a threat of drugs. It is very dangerous. It become a threat for the whole nation. And I will say that, I will end my meeting, I will end my sentence. I will leave with you that it is very, very shameful for the entire nation that this heinous crime in the history of mankind, who is committing it, who is the instigator, who is the perpetrator of this heinous crime in the history of mankind, are still ruling the state, and they were also a member of the parliament. What could be more simple than this for the entire nation? So I want to leave my last word.
I want to say three things. First of all, there must be a stop to the violence in Manipur immediately. This is a non-negotiable. Secondly, those who have been dishoused, dislodged, sent away from their lands, places which they once called their homes, from the hill country around Imphal, must be given security, must be able to go back to their own lands. Thirdly, when we had the violence here in Gujarat, we set up, headed by Justice Krishna Iyer, a citizens tribunal, an independent citizens tribunal of some of the top lawmakers retired. Justice Suresh, Justice Sawant, we had Kanapiran from the People's Union for Civil Liberties, all with Hindu names, no Muslims. Okay, so we need a citizens tribunal, okay, an independent citizens tribunal who can give the judiciary, the state Patricia's already spoken about, we need a lot of things, something about the forest, something about natural resources. There are drug lords who control. There is a whole shipment that was caught here in Gujarat, in the Adani port. Thousands of crores of drugs. Nothing happened. We know that even after the Gujarat carnage of 2002, the people responsible for that carnage are ruling the country today. Okay? And a video has gone viral about one guy who has been involved in the raping of the two women. I'm not justifying, the fact that, but that they were allowed to do that heinous crime. That, the mob was allowed to go in, and rape the women. That the women encouraged the men to, these are terrible things. It's systemic. Unless we address today's systemic issues in the Northeast, the Northeast is part of India. The way we treat our Northeastern sisters and brothers when they come, to some of the main cities in India, I think is a shame. It's a shame. And I think we have to bow down our head as citizens of India, pledge ourselves once again to justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, and ensure that for the people who have been victimized, justice is delivered, and we can truly say that India is a democratic and a free country. Till then, I'm afraid we cannot, whatever amount of lies we would like to tell the whole world.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining this discussion. I hope some of the points, very crucial points that you all have made, reaches the right quarters, and we make a difference. We are able to bring some semblance of normalcy through which we can work towards existential peace. And then we can work towards demands only after that, demands which will help coexistence possible. And it's not that we don't celebrate the Northeast. When there's great theatre happening, we celebrate. When Mericom happens, we celebrate. India is very quick to celebrate success. Then we want to own everything and call it our own. When there is crisis, then also I have great faith in the people of this country. The people of this country rise and they voice their outrage when things cross the limit. And we have to keep that faith and hone that faith to bring about some semblance of normalcy in the Northeast and in Manipur, and ensure that this doesn't spread across the region like a wildfire. Thank you all again.
Thank you to New Indian Express for hosting this panel.
Yeah.
And thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.